And welcome back, everyone. As you can see, Jinth on your screen subbed in for Team Liquid down 0-2. And what a performance he had there in his first ever LCS game. Team Liquid finally fight back, and we're now in Game 4 here between CLG and TL.
I love how confident he looked from the very start, willing to make that risky play, going for the all-in. Yes, it failed by the slimmest of margins, but he still came up huge for the team later in the game.
That's what I like to see, especially from a player who's put in a situation like this, down 0-2 in a playoff game, first game in the LCS, and he goes for a flash play and heal at 2 minutes into the game, 2.5 minutes into the game. So definitely does bode well for the aggressiveness of that bottom lane, but we have to say, it couldn't have been completed without Dardoch, because remember, as aggressive and cool as that play was, he got first blooded. Dardoch came down, he camped the heck out of that lane, and he went off in that game, 6-0-8. 400 and almost 50 damage per minute, which is insane for an LCS jungler. There's a reason this guy does have the highest damage per minute numbers, and he really does help out in situations like that.
I just love the whole game plan, the change around the fact that bot lane had been going very poorly, and they're able to focus on that. And even with Ezreal, who's considered basically the safest possible AD carry, they were still picking on him. They're still killing Stixxay off time and time again, and we'll have to see, what the answer from CLG will be to that. Will Smithy have to play more around the bot side?
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of any story like that is, obviously, Aphromoo and Stixxay have to clean it up a little bit. They have to be a little bit more cautious. They have to play around the possibility that Dardoch is going to camp them. As bottom lanes are notorious for complaining, oh, we got 4 versus 2. Oh, the enemy team's always camping us. You're going to have to put up some wards. You're going to have to play a little defensively. Maybe you give up some CS. As you said, Ezreal can play very safely, CS from afar.
I love how you can tell by the tone of your voice in that little situation. You are not a bot laner. That is your bot lane complaining. You're like, where's the jungler at? And Kobe's top lane, he's getting their red buff.
Well, we are into the draft for game number 4. Team Liquid finally on the board, which must feel nice. Positions, of course, will stay the same. These teams clearly have their side preferences as far as the draft go, and I think their ban preferences as well. Identical bans again from CLG. Team Liquid looking for a 3rd straight Sivir ban to keep things all the same here. We'll see if TL maybe have an adaptation, but probably not. Sivir's such a strong pick. CLG are pretty comfortable to first pick it on the blue side, but TL are going to take their time and, maybe just get a little breathing room here moving into this one.
Yeah, very curious as to what... Wait a second, it hasn't come through yet.
No, they're taking their time. And they do change it up. It's Echo banned away, which has not seen any presence in the series at all so far.
It's something that is very popular in Korea, though, and it was favored heavily by Darshan at MSI and earlier in the year, so perhaps they're expecting something to be mixed up.
And even Hui, that was one of their favorite flex picks, but the story remains the same for CLG, and it's the first pick Gnar. They don't change anything up, even in the face of the Echo ban, and they're daring, again, Team Liquid, to take that Aurelia and whatever jungler they decide to go with into it.
I mean, Sivir is open as well. That's finally we've had a change here in the draft so far. So Jinth, I assume you can play it. Maybe they take it here, get a strong bot lane for themselves. No Karma to take, but could take a range support. We'll see what Team Liquid want to do here.
That's super interesting because a couple of weeks ago in North America, Sivir was pretty much the premier AD carry all around. But recently, in the last couple of weeks and on 6.15, Ashe has really started to rise in priority. And I feel like that trade has become much more acceptable, and it will fall a lot further down the draft phase.
I had gotten the opportunity to talk to some pros and some coaches, and one of the reasons behind that is they feel that pre your first buy, Ashe has the best pushing power in that lane. No one can outpush her. Even the Sivir basically has to get that first buy before you can start to compete, and this gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of power, especially when joined up with some of these other supports.
We've seen how important the pushing power has been with so many standard lanes and that turret bounty on the table. Team Liquid, though, do take Cassio and Gragas, so everyone's staying away from the AD carry pick so far, but Phoenix is not shying away from the Cassio. Gragas seems to be contested. We've seen a lot of Rek'Sai on the other side, but Phoenix's Cassiopeia has been a standout for the team all series long.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason they're not shying away from that. It has been one of their biggest strengths, and I do like that they have the confidence to continue to play to that strength. Hui has not been able to answer Phoenix Cassiopeia. In any of the series that they have played versus Team Liquid, it's always been scary, and you've had to worry about solo kills coming through from the mid lane.
That said, Hui has definitely still been performing strong. Has not been dominating Phoenix, on that Cassiopeia by any means, but has had some good Victor performances and may go back to it once again. It's the Sivir this time, though, locked in for 6A.
Yeah, they actually do change it up a bit. Sivir Bard there for CLG. Still Team Liquid want to react there as Jin hovers the Team Liquid new mascot, Rammus. Everyone loves that one.
Very few variations in Champion Select from both teams. Just the small wrinkle there with Sivir going unbanned. Does get picked up, and it does provide, that extra mobility, opening up a couple more options, but no surprise, Ashe is traded on the other side, and the Braum is picked up to kind of counter the Sivir. You can stop and completely break the Ricochet, not to mention the Boomerang Blade, and Matt, as they talked about on the Endless Test, has been having very strong Braum performances, last game in particular, so he's looking to continue with the momentum of last game, which we've talked about being very important for Team Liquid. They're a very emotional team, very momentum-based team, and having good mentality and the confidence to play a champion you just had a good game on, it can definitely give you a boost.
He's also not a guy to shy away from aggression, and Matt and Piglet in the past have been known as one of the most dominant kind of kill-oriented 2v2 lanes. They were really strong laners, and Jint now is showing that ability to be aggressive.
Ooh, a big change for CLG. Aurelion Sol and Olaf.
There we go. The effect of the initial ripple finds itself in the last two picks here for CLG. Extra move speed for Olaf. Also, the zone control that Aurelion Sol provides is absolutely insane. It'll allow Sivir to get those late game free farming Ricochet auto attacks off onto the rest of the team. And CLG, they're going to have Smithy on this Olaf into the Gragas.
You also want to talk about something that can help to shift those side lane matchups, and it's the Aurelion Sol, so good at roaming to these side lanes, helping out the bot lane or helping out Darshan.
Also, the way that Hui plays the Aurelion Sol is very, very aggressive and almost invites jungle intervention and jungle gank. So I'm very curious as to how Smithy will perform on this Olaf, because this is definitely a new look for Smithy. And we'll see if he is able to, as you get to the late stages of the game, run straight to the back line and get right in the face of Jinth and in Phoenix, because Olaf is one of those unforgiving characters that has a break point. Either you're a juggernaut and you get to the back line and they have to run from you and they die, or you run to the back line and you die as you're running in and you just fall over. It's very extreme with him.
It's about hitting that break point. You're either strong enough to go in or you're not, and if you're not, you become very useless very quickly.
Get rich or die trying.
There you go.
Well, that's like basically the Team Liquid motto, right? I guess we'll have to see as we are going to move ourselves into game number 4. Keep the hashtag rolling, hashtag CLG win, or hashtag TL win, and you can add in everyone's new favorite hashtag, hashtag Jinth win, on his second straight Ashe game and his second LCS game ever. We'll see if he and the rest of Team Liquid can bring CLG all the way to another playoff game number 5.
This man is undefeated in LCS games. He's
100%
undefeated
win
in
rate.
playoff games.
He's also never lost at the World Championships, Kobe. Who is this guy?
Biggest, best kept secret of North America.
So never seen him and Batman in the same room, so you never know.
That's true.
But Team Liquid going to move out once again on Summoner's Rift. These sides must feel very familiar for these teams, and it's CLG that really forced the biggest change here in the draft. They get the Sivir, and apparently that means Olaf and Aurelion Sol are good to go. Huhi's Aurelion Sol. He's one of the few players in the NALCS that plays this champion and plays it very well. CLG do have to show a bit extra here, but if they can make the work done, as Dardoch and Afro are having a battle, but Jint is there on the other side. Afro going to keep chasing.
Oh god, Jint is far out here. If you get tagged by the Axe, he's in trouble.
Exhaust is down. Axe is going to miss. He does flash.
This is something we've seen so often from Reignover and the other LCS players that have been playing
Oh
hard.
my god.
Jint eats one there. The stun is good there from Afro. Who are going to keep chasing? Stars do good damage.
The Ghost, extremely low cooldown, so that's why we always see these players, Reignover and Dardoch even, popping the Ghost immediately in level 1 confrontation and going for the chain slows of these axe throws. They do get the flash off of Ashe. Now, jungler pathing will be very important. Both teams are very aware of this weakness of the Ashe. No escapes, doesn't have flash now. We'll see how they play around it and try and cover it up.
We are going to have a pause here, but Also, to step back a little bit and look at some of the summoners, it's going to be double exhaust for CLG, which makes it so hard for a champion like Aurelia, who has to kind of hard commit to some of these fights to actually get in there and execute some of these backline dives and these daring plays. It's really, really tough.
And even the Aurelian Soul, I actually really like the summoner on Huhi and on the A Soul, because you have to have the confidence on Aurelian Soul to get into a dangerous range to be able to have that zone control that we talked about. And Cassiopeia will, in a stand-up fight, burn him down. If you have the added threat of an exhaust, Phoenix can't take that all in because he'll be trapped inside the orbit, and you get trapped up with the stun as well. So it just gives you more of that confidence to go for those all-ins. The confidence that we saw on him when he was on the Syndra facing the LeBlanc.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of, you can play almost as a semi-frontliner because you build so much HP and you build so tanky early on. Roa into Rylai's, you have a lot of HP. I was even watching, over in Korea, seeing builds like Roa, Rylai's into a full Banshees, right? Like things that are just make you very tanky. You get up in their face, and that's going to be very conducive with that exhaust as well.
It does provide a lot of damage over time that can hit multiple people. So staying up for the duration of the entire fight is of the utmost importance. And when you do have a Sivir to rely upon for the late game, it's not really on your shoulders to have to build full damage.
Well, just a quick update. Teams are just making sure everything is A-OK. Apparently the lights are bugging the players just a touch, so we'll make some quick adjustments and should be back into the game. I think you can see TL pointing at some of
the age-old, the sun was in my eyes.
Kobe, put that laser pointer away. It's not the time.
Well, I'm sure we'll get that fixed up ASAP, so it should be back in
what
the
is
game
going on?
Yeah, Dardoka blinded. Has no idea what's going on.
Okay, now that's actually ridiculous. Somebody's trolling them.
Oh, there we go.
I mean, he did play pretty well. Spotlight Spose could be on Lolo here.
That's nice to reduce the tension, though, because this is, again, a game, back against the walls, must-win game. Every game for Team Liquid is a must-win game. They're trying to force the Game 5 in this series. They have a lot of work ahead of them. So, maybe being able to reset here, calm the nerves a bit, could be good for them. Or maybe they want to stay high tension. They want to keep rolling off that last victory.
It can be tough for players, and I think it differs from person to person. For me, I always hated pauses. I hate delays. I want to play the game. I want to get in as fast as possible. And I think it just differs team to team, guy to guy, and even just being able to have one of those guys who can kind of be joking around and making light of things and keeping the mood positive in situations like this can be very important.
Talked a lot about discipline from CLG and Liquid, kind of a younger team. I mean, bringing in a rookie player in the playoffs certainly kind of speaks to the youth of this team. That could certainly benefit them as far as overall talent and maybe a bit of fire, bit of energy going in, but can cost them in a long series. We've seen Team Liquid, they can crumble under pressure. Feeling good right now. Again, you have to make sure that the team can stay all together, and I think Dardock's kind of slowly getting to that role. At least that's where he wants to be, and he's kind of joking around more with his team and kind of making sure they stick together even when they are down.
Yeah, it's kind of like they've gotten through the really tough point where, we lost our first two games. Now they have something that they can hold on to, something they can look back to and be like, we can do this. We just had a huge game, and they want to roll that into the next one.
Yeah, you remember that Ash arrow where I killed Hui? Yeah, that was me.
Remember that time I flash healed in for first blood and everything was fine?
I don't remember that. I just remember Dark and kill you. But yeah, it's definitely good to stay positive, focus on those bright moments, and these guys definitely going to be looking to continue the momentum that they have picked up here.
Remember, whoever does end up winning this series is going to have the tall task of facing TSM. TSM, the undisputed #1 team in North America. So your work doesn't stop here, right? Everything you do here is going to build into the rest of your playoffs. These teams are not just looking to win here. All these teams have their eyes on Worlds qualification.
Especially CLG, they're looking to three-peat. They've won back-to-back splits. No one has done that before in the NALCS, won that third straight, and they would love to be the first to do it, and they're always the guys who feel like they're underestimated, who feel like they're counted out, and to do it in a season like this would be really incredible with how dominant some of these teams have looked.
And it's kind of interesting looking at this game as well, because I feel like we had a very clear picture of how things were working out for the first 3 games. We kind of knew which lanes were winning. The drafts were almost identical coming across it. So I think a change here, any change at all, and CLG have made some adjustments. Does it change too much here? Like, top lane is kind of even, mid lane has been a bit Phoenix favored, and in the bottom lane, certainly we've seen struggles when Jint wasn't in the lineup there. So the struggle of power has been kind of interesting, but it's been pretty consistent. I wonder if the teams know this and kind of looking to break in certain ways by changing things up.
I mean, we've seen struggles in the bottom lane for Team Liquid when Dardoch wasn't in there. I mean, even in the beginnings of the game, right? So we'll have to see where. I really wanted to keep track of the junglers early on, and I'm so glad that we do get to see, so many more standard lanes to really see that skill expression and the different options that they do have, and the amount that they can actually affect the game early is insane.
Yeah, the junglers duel has been pretty special to watch. I think just seeing the different interpretations on how to best play the early game, even when you compare Smithy's Rek'Sai to Dardoch's Rek'Sai, the jungle paths they're taking on the early camps, adaptations they're making, trying to throw off their opponents on their first gank timings, on where they could be, where they're not. And I think it's really interesting to watch the predictions and the reactions from these two players back and forth.
And kind of on the same note with solo lanes, I think we've seen, because of standard lanes, a lot. I mean, we've seen 4 games in a row now at this point of Aurelia versus Nah. You have to think both players think they're right. And that can't be the case. Someone probably has to lose that matchup, because Darshan's saying, oh, Nah wins, I got this, don't worry. And Lolo's definitely saying Aurelia wins, I've got this.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it's come down to so many moments where someone has gone for a dive and they can look at that and be like, oh, well, all I have to fix is I just don't make that mistake, right? But both players are guilty of that. And let's jump right back into the game, because people are finished talking.
Looks like we made the adjustments, and Hui and Phoenix will square
Their
off
turn to play
in the mid lane. Out once again, 2 minutes into this one. Didn't quite see the level 1, but I imagine it was pretty uneventful. Darshan and Lolo, we talked about it, are going to do battle once more in this 1v1. Darshan certainly looked good early in the matchup, particularly in mini-Nah form, but Lolo, I feel like he's kind of getting better and better at the matchup as it plays out.
It's also good to remember about that level 1, it was Jinth getting his flash forced out. So, there was that summoner that was popped, and may have forgotten a little bit about that. But Smithy also started blue buff. He's doing a quick path towards bot lane.
Ooh,
they're doing it
Preston
again.
here. They don't get the passive proc on either one, but they zone them off the minion wave. That early level push that you talked about, Ashe over Sivir before the first buy, does take effect. Hui actually went over to the Raptor camp and was taking away the small Raptors, I believe.
Look at Smithy, though. There's no flash on Jinx, and he's done a very fast path here. We talked about adaptations. They're not expecting him to be here yet. No flash on
Here
Jinx.
comes the Dolos. Aphromoon lining up a big stun there. Needs to get the shield off of Matt as Xmithie going to chase down. First one lands in, but Xmithie getting low. Stun's going to land in. Xmithie going to get healed, and first blood goes to the Olaf. Now Matt going to turn and fight him, but the Berserker's going crazy.
Oh, they can't
he
take
will
the minion.
die, but they get the 2 kills.
You might have been able to have Stixxay step in front of that cannon minion, but Dardoch actually is looking to clean up further here for Team Liquid.
Looking at Afro.
I don't know about that.
Oh, he's going for it. He goes for the angle, but now Stixxay. Dardoch caught without a summoner spell, slowing from Afro. Stixxay going to chase him down. Stun barely misses, but Dardoch, he just can't get away. He is going to die. One more order from Stixxay. He gets it.
And the double buffs over to Stixxay. That is an incredible start for CLG. We talked about the emotional impact in these games that has got to feel bad for Dardoch.
Oh my goodness, that is tragic for the bottom lane. We knew they didn't have flash. We thought that they were going to do something to cover up that weakness, but they push out really early. They don't ward for the early level 3 gank of Smithy, and then here, maybe there could... No, I think it was boned either way. So anyways, this play here from Dardoch, and they have to communicate that Afro still has his flash.
No, he doesn't. He used his flash. He just straight up misses.
No.
So watch the body slam flash come in. Dardoch has it up there.
That was just
he looked for it. It was
into
just
the bush, yeah.
That's a massive mistake from Dardoch. And not only that, he dies. He gives over double buff. Stixxay is going to be massive, and that has got to feel so bad.
We talked about Dardoch righting the ship in game number 3. Capsized it there. Now Lolo in trouble. Stunned in as Darshan looking to chase him forward. Afro taking the turret. That's a clean kill. Stixxay 3-0-1 already.
Reminiscent
like
of
this.
game number 1. CLG get the kill on the other side of the map. Dardoch actually looking to clean up again.
He has no summoners. They know he's there. They pinged it out. In comes Smithy.
Going for it already. Olaf going to start things off. Slow's going to land, but they do not chase CLG. Want the turret instead.
Again with the quick rotation after the first blood for CLG. Topside turret actually, they teleported into...
A little dangerous perhaps, but TL do arrive. Turret armor was actually still up, which is why CLG couldn't quite crack through it. But they're not done.
It was like a 4-minute BF sword buy for Stixxay though on Sivir. Right? He got 3 kills, the double buffs. He is massive. They have a big lead on the HP of the turret. Bottom lane turret though, teleport there from Darshan used so that CLG don't give that one up to Jin.
Yeah, and they are going to have to react to that. And it's Matt and Lorlo trying to hold strong up here, but Matt getting chunked out a lot. And this is a ridiculously strong Sivir, to your point.
It's a pretty sick hitbox as well. Afro kind of curving
Nice
around. Big Say though, playing well under control. Hui now going back in. Stun, just going to miss in onto Phoenix though.
Yeah, Phoenix can't commit to those. You know, he's got to get out of that range because if he decides to all in, gets exhausted, and then he has to, you know, flash or ghost or something out. And doesn't want to take that one. Hui doing very well for himself in the mid lane. See if he starts to roam around. He is level 6 now. Ready to move. But man, yeah, the early stages, very, very CLG favored, very reminiscent of game number 1. They tried to chain it this time again to turn their first blood into their first turret, but Team Liquid made an adaptation and they actually stopped the first turret, which is important to stop the insane snowballing.
And it was also a lot about it, to Pastry's point, they did it kind of too early, right? They did it before the turret protection actually dropped in top lane, so it took so much less damage since it was pre-5 minutes. And because they didn't go right back to that 2v2, Jinth actually has gotten a lot of CS. Look at it, it's a level 4 6-8, level 6 Jinth, because he got all that solo XP, picked up the farm, and they kind of threw away a little bit of that lead.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a trade there, right? Darshan on the Gnar. They're actually going to try and press down. I think the 4-man squad wins versus the 2-man squad in this race.
I believe that is correct. I guess we'll find out shortly. Because CLG are onto the bottom outer turret here. Darshan does take a turret hit for himself, but Jinth and Matt a little too slow. Dardock is up here as well. We are going to trade some turrets around here. Looking a little reminiscent of the old lane swap, but a lot more work required to do it. CLG still up ahead. They'll trade the turrets, but 4-1 up in kill. Still gold lead. Looking good, as Team Liquid should be able to answer, and they do.
Hui's starting to kind of chunk out Phoenix a little bit there. He is having to chug a lot of pots, and it looks like CLG wants to continue forward and try to press for a second turret, perhaps.
Oh, they're going to do it, and they're going to force the reaction here from Team Liquid. Oh, the minion stopped his back. That is very unfortunate.
Oh my god.
Another turret. They can look to Dragon after this as well if they want to try to really push that advantage.
And blue buff is about to come up. Everybody knows it because of the timer there. So they might even drop some wards and come back for that as well.
So they want the Drake for now. CLG will move in for the Ocean Drake after claiming the tier 2 in bottom lane. We talked about that macro game at the start of the series. They looked crisp in game number 1, and that continued in game 2. Maybe faltered just a touch there in the third, but CLG looking so strong. Just converting these kills into very strong early game advantages.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, the level 1 had a huge impact on the way this game is going. It was Smithy on the Olaf immediately popping his ghost and charging Jinth, who didn't
Oh my
respect
god,
it.
Dardock gonna get stunned. No, he doesn't quite. Hui, they're gonna keep chasing. He exhausts him down. Phoenix now trying to run interference, but Hui gets the ulti, needs one more, and Smithy gonna claim the kill. Hui getting low, does fall down there as the arrow flies by, but will not hit. A trade in CLG's jungle.
Yeah, Team Liquid do get the counter kill, though. They take down Hui, and now they're looking to pressure mid lane here as CLG are trying to defend. They call over the Sivir for some wave clear. Phoenix still standing, though, and definitely threatening.
And Lorlo on the side is preparing for the possibility of a dive. Would be risky. Do they make the call? I don't think so.
Yeah, it looks like Lolo is going to actually pull away from that situation. Darshan back in top lane collecting some farm. Does need to get some back there as we watch this one again. Dardock, this is too aggressive almost.
Yeah. Hui goes in, he puts the exhaust down so he can get the slow, start to hit the orbit. But, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to count the summoners here. I think it was mostly even exchange of summoners, and it wasn't that bad for Team Liquid.
Definitely wasn't. It was a nice combo from Dardock. Ultimate into that ultimate from Cassiopeia. The CC chain there onto Hui to take him down was very important.
Nice auto attack there, but cleans up the rest of them. He's right back on track.
One of the things, to your point earlier, is although some of the rest of the team is a little bit lower on damage, they had that late game with the Sivir, the auto attacker, this massive team fight carry in the late game. And this is really kind of propelling Sivir towards that. So it does take more pressure off of Darshan, off of Hui, to really be those massive team fight damage heroes.
Hui being set up on here perhaps as Team Liquid had 3 members on top of a nice little side brush pink ward. Afromu though going to scout them out. Does make sure he wants to cover Darshan, who is in a long lane now on this top side of the map. 6A in the meantime has gone back with Berserker Greaves, and now that Caulfield's Warhammer added into the early aggression he's already been able to do. He's pretty much up a BF sword as Arrow. He's going to fly out, not going to hit Hui this time, but Dardoch ults him back in. Miasma's going to lock him down, but Hui's able to flash out of the way. Big Smithy is here, but the rest of the squad is not. Smithy wants it though. I think he's waiting for Afro.
Yeah,
Pink Ward.
They don't have damage though, because Hui got chunked out really low, and CLG are actually farming 3 lanes right now. So they're actually okay pressing up all these ones at once, and they're going to rotate either to the top side or to the actual Rift Herald. It looks like they are just going to try and power down the turret.
Oh, here comes Hui.
Surfing over the walls. Lolo knows it, but it might be too late. Flushes the stun, but still taking damage. Hui can't convert, but CLG have pressure on the turret now.
All right, Aurelion Sol going to get some summoners back for himself with that roam, but regardless, they push him off the turret.
And it's low from the initial move top.
Well, they are going to get it here. CLG now 3 turrets to 1, excuse me, as they'll get themselves yet another turret. Mid turret still standing. Stixxay and Phoenix going in. Stixxay gets a bit of around on the ultimate, and now Phoenix going to get blown away by the Hui ult. Stixxay flashes in, and what a ridiculous outplay!
Are you kidding me?
Big Stixxay able to get this timely spell shield here. My goodness, what an outplay. CLG going to have control of the mid lane. Let's see what they can do with it, because the rest of the top lane is converging. Gnar coming behind them.
Stixxay, man, showing up huge in this game. He's saying, oh, Jinth is hype? Where's my hype?
Well, honestly,
starting to mount perhaps here. Stixxay maybe caught spell shield again. You're joking. Hui though, not so lucky as Matt's going to take him out, but here comes CLG. Bard going to lock up the turret there as Matt's pretty low. They're going to try and chain him for the stun, but he will flash out of the way to safety. Team Liquid still chasing in. Axis though covering the retreat. CLG going to stand firm.
Misposition there from Hui, doesn't respect the Gragas and does get punished for it, but CLG aren't done.
Misposition there from Jinth, a little too far in. Smithy pops the ulti, needs to try and get out of the way. Darshan going to get chased down, he's almost mega, does have the ulti ready. CLG playing with fire in this mid lane.
Yeah, very, very close calls here in the mid lane. I don't know, this has just been back and forth, a little bit risky. Look at this though, wait.
Ridiculous
just
protective turn. He turns around. He already spell shielded once. Once the spell shield was popped, he says, I know what you're going to do. You're going to go for the ultimate now. The spell shield is down. He predictably turns it around. Massive outplay there from Stixxay. Super impressed, and he has completed his Essence Reaver off to the races.
And this Sivir is awfully scary if you're a Team Liquid fan at this point. Stixxay starting to have one hell of a series, and that play kind of cementing how he's feeling right now. Reads Phoenix's mind.
Yeah,
I'll get himself another kill.
Like, wait a second, didn't he already use that? Regardless, though, he timed the heal really well as well to go for the chase. All right, well, next Drake coming up is going to be another Ocean Drake. That's not quite that good for snowballing there for CLG, but they still are going to want to control this area of the map and try and get their vision set up in advance.
It's also one of those things where it never feels bad to take a dragon simply because Elder. You're going to get more true damage burned if it goes super late and you have those dragons stacked.
Looks like Afro going to try and protect this pink ward. Success so far as Matt takes a big chunk of damage. Team Liquid looking to charge back in. They'll take that pink ward down. CLG smart not to try and fight 2v3.
Scuttle Crab control there for Team Liquid will help them out as far as fighting that Vision Ward as well. Top lane right now, they've sent Darshan to start getting it pushing. This is the prep work from CLG. Good sidestep there. From Jinth, but they're prepping the topside minion wave right now. Then that forces something from Team Liquid because Team Liquid don't have teleport on Lorlo. You have to worry about these plays being set up in advance from CLG.
Oh, look at Afro. Nice little juke out of the way of the queue. Oh, Smithy's in as well. Hello. Oh, everyone's coming. Matt comes along for the ride as well. CLG just trying to pressure back in. Phoenix, so does pretty easily dodge out of that one.
So Team Liquid, now they're faced with the choice of, hey, do we force this dragon? Lorlo's teleport is still not going to come up. Now we're sending him up top lane through the jungle.
Darshan's trying to cut him off actually up there.
Ghost blown from Phoenix as well, and he doesn't have flash either. He is such a huge part of how they want to play the team fights. This is not good for Team Liquid.
Not at all, and Darshan going to be taking away that red buff and is up 2 levels on Lorlo right now, looking very strong in what could be the final game of this series for CLG.
CLG still shoving their weight around as well. Ocean Drake going to go over to them. Team Liquid actually mounting a defense here. But they have to be careful. Lorlo can now TP in.
And Darshan has TP.
Oh, arrow lands, but only hits Smith. He's able to face tank it pretty comfortably.
The teleport has come off cooldown now for Lorlo, so they did kind of wait out that very, very scary few seconds. They do have a minion wave pushing up middle as well, though. You can see Darshan is trying to force them back, and they're going to give up that Drake and not fight over the ocean. Don't want to give up mid-game kills.
Yeah, just too much minion wave control there from CLG. They prepped it, all waves pushing in, and they do not want to risk giving up too much in a fight like that over a dragon that they would not consider critical at this point in the game.
Macro strength again, looking good for CLG as they're going to pressure out this turret as well. They're just taking so many objectives, and Phoenix just can't defend this.
Dardark is waiting to make a play in the Raptor pit on the Gragas.
Oh,
he moved up!
Oh, ulti gets further. Who's going to get knocked back in? Plus 3 back though with a big ulti as Lawler's going to try and make something happen. Darshan still threatening with the Mega Gnar. TL to defend for now.
That's pretty big though. Now Huhi splashes down, and Phoenix's has come back up. Playmaking ability from the mid laners is very big.
Oh, they got 2 carries!
That's the carries they want. Darshan not going to be mega for long enough. He tried to buffer a wall up, but it doesn't work. Jinto will fall down. 5v4 now for CLG.
And they push them off the turret too. They can get the objective afterwards, finish that one, and continue pushing up mid lane.
Yeah, they can go for more. They could go for a tier 2 here, and now it's Phoenix without the flash. He's got to be very, very careful.
Big sticks there, still looking good. Got plenty of damage in the
Hui looking.
Hui gets a stun in, gets the kill. CLG starting to really snowball.
That's not careful, Azale.
That was not careful. I told him, Kobe. What was he thinking?
No. Oh, okay, exhaust there for an easy kill for Huhi, and they pick up another one off the back. Again, Team Liquid need to refocus. This is, again, every single game is must win for them in this series. CLG are jumping out to another huge mid-game lead.
And look at this fight. Who else but Afro catches both? And they're honestly lucky Darshan fell out of Mega there, or could have been 2 kills. Either way, picking up Jit very quickly. Smithy zoning off on the side. And this is a turret that is gone, and Phoenix has blown his summoners, has no business staying around. You can see the frustration on his face there. He wanted to stay around and try to defend the second one, ends up giving up another kill.
Probably the hardest part about getting behind in games like this is dealing with the frustration of having to play at a disadvantage, you know, and having to give up extra objectives. Nobody wants to see that turret go away, but if you don't have the tools to keep it, sometimes you just have to forfeit things, cut your losses, and try and wait for the next opportunity. The mental game when you're coming from behind, when you're playing from a deficit is probably the most important thing, and that's what CLG talked about with all of their practice focused on getting behind on purpose.
And just the level of advantage CLG have gained for themselves is pretty absurd in this game. 7,000 gold up already. Lanes are looking pretty good in general, although both Darshan and Huhi maybe a little closer than they would like. Stixxay, though, we talked about it. He's been 3-0-1. He's almost up to Phantom Dance over that second item. Has a huge CS lead there as well in bottom lane.
And look at this. They are messing around with Phoenix, but really the story is the top lane push. As Sivir's got the minion wave up at the turret, they're trading a secondary turret for a first turret here. And Stixxay is making quick work of it as Darshan's got a alone time with Jint.
He's got the Fromo. Jint does have summoners, but he gets gnawed into the wall and blown up.
Darshan got that alone time. He wasn't looking to cuddle Kobe. He was good.
Oh, Nar, he looks so cuddly though.
Oh, Matt blocks the stun there from Bardic. Smithy getting chased down. Can't be slow with the Ragnarok active. Was first to burn the... Actually, what? He just walked out of the way. Oh, here's Banshee's Veil. That's nice.
Great item.
Pretty fed Olaf if you have Banshees this early, plus your jungle item. CLG just so far ahead.
You talked about it, Kobe. There's a point where you can run forward and not care, and there's a point where you can't. Guess which point he's at? He can run in.
Feels great.
Does if you're a CLG fan.
You know what the other thing is? At this point, you really have to worry about even setting up the vision around Baron, because the Bard ultimate, Afromu has already been on point. The Sivir speed is going to allow them to chase down Dardark. I don't know. He is cornered, and he's going to have to make some fancy moves to get out of this one as Hui's coming up the river.
The burning Sivir ulti. I don't know if Dardark can get out of this one. Wrong place, wrong time. Perhaps he might make it over the wall. Does get there, but Afro can't quite take the stun. Dardark. Sneaky little escape. Does Houdini his way out, but Lolo fighting Darshan again. Jint is here, though. Going to try and make an arrow play. Oh, no arrow. That's not what you want. Darshan flashes out of the way. Going to slow down Lolo. Fromo and the Boomerang going to do work, and Darshan...
It's almost up. Okay, they decided to pull it.
Too slippery, and that's a Rift Herald down. Smithy going to claim it. Oh, that's Baron. That was close. CLG is looking... They're just taking everything whenever they get an opportunity to. Dardark almost lucky to get his red buff at this stage of the game. And it's still early, like 20 minutes in. CLG have a huge lead, but they can't even pressure maybe as much as they would want, because they have to kind of still take the game at the pace it's at. Death timers aren't that long, so even if they do get a pick, they can't end the game yet, but TL are in such a big hole.
Yeah, and we talk so much about, every game here is must win for Team Liquid, but CLG these are the two-time defending champions. As we said, their eyes are on the Worlds qualification, on getting to finals. Even though they've had a rough split here in the summer split after coming back from MSI. Remember back to the last split where TSM were the 6th place team. They made it all the way to finals. They were one team fight versus CLG away from actually winning it themselves. As Laud was saying yesterday in Envy's games, you know, your placements during the regular season don't matter that much in playoffs. It's all about finishing strong.
Just look to Immortals' last split, 17-1. They don't even make the finals. You can never count teams like this out, and they are looking to push forward here.
And to really just re-emphasize that point, there's a new patch.
Yep.
And the turrets are different. Lane swaps are much different. Technically, you still have lane swaps as, you know, they're just much later into the game. And people use them to overload turrets, try and get these first turret bonuses. But CLG, they've shown that they have adapted very quickly, and they're looking at that next series, that next step.
Oh, Lola caught out. Good flash there, but he's going to get chased down. Darshan looking for it. Arrow lands, hits Stixay, but there's no follow-up there. Team Liquid still trying to keep CLG out of the way as Hui charges forward. Dardoch, a little too close.
But it's the bigger prize, the Infernal Dragon. They can move right back to it. And how can TL really afford to go through their jungle into a fight like this with no vision? They simply can't.
Too dangerous for them. CLG have all the vision. Aurelion Sol is great in the jungle because you can cut off an entire corridor. Team Liquid know it, and they're not going to go fight that. They're going to wait, bide their time for a better opportunity.
Just look at the AD carry itemization right now. It's kind of painful.
Oh,
As Afro,
almost no time. Matt may be caught. No star, does not connect for the stun. Phoenix forced to burn the flash. Doesn't get out of the way, and CLG just pressuring forward. They are almost 10,000 gold ahead. 3 Drakes up with an Infernal blast being taken. Eyes maybe now shift to the Baron buff as CLG just looking for the next way for them to get closer and closer to finishing out this series. Team Liquid, we talked about every game being must win. If they are going to win this game, they'll need to dig their heels in deep. They can't just show us talent, they must also show us a little bit of experience.
A couple of ways they could hope to get back in is hope Lorlo can get those side lane outplays. Hope they can delay and get Phoenix to that monster status he can be on Cassiopeia. And what TL needs to do is try to just delay, try to stem the bleeding, not give up too much here, and really stop the Baron.
Yeah, I think as far as specific plays, I'm looking at Dardoch. Well, now I'm looking at Dardoch because the camera's on.
Oh, maybe he actually goes back in. Arrow lands. Xmithy Ragnaroks it off, though. And Nate's going to chase him down. Dardoch taking damage. Xmithy ulti going to run out soon. Does now go up, but there's no orders to follow. Dardoch going back in again. Xmithy going to get tagged, but the rest of CLG's here. Stixay just crits his face off as Hui gets an ulti out for a bit of burst damage. Jin's caught out. Matt's going to die. Sivir now with a double kill. CLG bursting forward. Phoenix gets the ulti, but Stixay once more. There's the triple kill. Looking to chase it down. Lolo nowhere good to run. Stixay. There's the quadra kill. Jin, the only one left alive with no flash.
Not going to give it to him. And CLG are going to be able to take inhibitor turrets and an inhibitor as well.
The gold lead is enormous, 11,000 up for CLG. 24 minutes in, they crack the base. First inhibitor will fall.
Well, Jinth, I guess, had a great first LCS game. Does not want to give Stixay a penta in his second, though. So everything will stay safe for now. After with a wonderful little magical journey, gets his squad out to safety.
8-0 on this Sivir. Think back to the bottom lane play and how that has evolved. But anyways, here we have the skirmish that's starting out for Team Liquid. They do see Darshan is bottom, but he does have teleport. He doesn't hesitate. They don't respect the Sivir speed boost, and CLG Collapse gets them 2 kills before Aurelia is even there.
And look at Stixay, so confident, flashing over the wall into TL. He knows how strong he is. He knows he will have the support of his team, the full committal from CLG as they look to get more.
Dardoch maybe chased down. Rylo's going to proc in. Hui just such a menace whenever he catches Team Liquid moving through their own jungle. It is incredibly unsafe out on Summoner's Drift for Team Liquid right now, and they're going to, again, just going to have to dig their heels in and see what they can get done. Darshan starting to split push in the bottom side of the map. Baron is up and ready for CLG. An Ocean Drake will be up in a few minutes if they also need that. Team Liquid have far too many problems to hold right now.
It's going to be tough, but Darshan has no TP. Maybe TL can look for a play on this side of the map, try to get an odd man fight. They're going to have to go for desperation.
And what I was about to say before the last couple of deaths there for Team Liquid is we're looking at Dardoch to actually separate the team with the ultimate. If Olaf charges in, you have to use your Gragas ultimate to knock the entire rest of the team back so you can focus them down.
Darshan's coming over to the flank. They're looking.
Here we go again. Jin tagged up already. He's not going to go anywhere. Darshan going to take him out. And now Matt looks to be the next target. Fromo's going to start proccing CLG. Surging forward, looking for a few more kills. They don't need too much more. Darshan flash round when Zoman's in. A Stixay goes legendary. Aurelian are caught up in the base.
They're all cut out of their base. They could just go for the end. The Super Minions are here, and Afro is trying to stop the backs.
Gonna keep chasing them down. CLG gonna push the wave in. Afro and Hui fighting out. Phoenix gets tagged up, doesn't have his ulti, but will flash in. Dano separates them out, but the ulti gonna blast them back here. Hui just needs to buy some time. One turret down already for CLG as Phoenix cutting it out, and I don't think they can do it. CLG show that while Team Liquid's talent may be undeniable, their poise is unbreakable.
26 minutes in, that's going to wrap it up here as Counter Logic Gaming move on to face TSM in the next step of the playoffs.
They're looking for that third championship. Third straight is the goal for CLG. They have their eyes on the prize, and it was one game lost, but they come back strong. They assert their dominance across the map. Most importantly, in that bot lane, Stixay coming up huge in the final game.
This is the second split in a row where Counter Logic Gaming have put a stop to Team Liquid's playoff run.
Has to feel bad for Liquid. Again, they've shown so much promise throughout the season, but CLG proved that their experience and their teamwork is what is truly valuable here. And they make a 3-1 win versus Team Liquid, looking horrifying to play against, particularly on this patch. It just feels like they've got it all figured out. We talked about it being a slow season for them. We talked about them kind of picking it up towards the back end. Well, this is really the pointy end of the back end of the season. And CLG showing that, you know what, we are going to challenge TSM. You better watch out. That is one hell of a semifinal.
Definitely true. And the specific player growth that I've seen from Hui over this split has really been tremendous. This guy plays so many champions in the mid lane. He was able to hold up a bunch of different matchups that we didn't see coming. And even with Phoenix having counter pick in a lot of the games, really good performances, despite this couple times of weakness versus the Cassiopeia.
And this is setting us up for a repeat of the spring finals. TSM versus CLG will be matching up in that semifinals. And it went to Game 5 in Vegas, and I cannot wait to see this one next weekend.
Couldn't agree more with Hui, though, I have to say. If you had told me before the summer started that Hui was going to solo kill Jensen in the regular season, I would not have believed you, but he has done all that and more. CLG maybe looking the strongest they've ever been, and they're going to need it if the three-pit that they want so badly will be there. But the team will huddle, they'll celebrate a well-deserved fort.
I know, they looked pretty strong when they won the championship and when they went to the finals of MSI.
Also agree.
Pretty good.
Well, they beat SKT. That wasn't too bad. Yeah, that was all right. So.
Honestly, though, yeah, it has been a roller coaster. We keep talking about both of these teams having tumultuous splits. It's no different for Counter Logic Gaming. They're used to it, though, and they're headed again for another matchup versus TSM.
Well, we'll be speaking with one of our winners in just a moment, but for now, let's check in with the analyst while we set up for that interview.
Thank you very much, gents. Our defending champions in CLG victorious 3-1 over Team Liquid and moving on for a rematch against TSM of our spring split finals. So that's sure to be a great one, and also means that we are guaranteed to have a different final, at least, than last split, since one of them is going to have to win just next week.
The last two splits.
Exactly. Oh, that's true, since, yes, they actually competed against
over
each
a
other
year.
for both. So both of CLG's victories were over TSM. So that's sure to be an exciting matchup and, of course, an uphill battle for CLG, considering the kind of form that TSM left the regular season in. But we'll dive into that in a bit. First, I want to break down how CLG closed out this series. After having subbed in Jinth and lost the game there, CLG come back with a very different strategy. This time around, drafting the Aurelian Sol and the Olaf in the last rotation, so really throwing Team Liquid a couple new picks that they're going to have to try and deal with.
I think it all comes down to the fact that TL decided to not ban the Sivir and went for an Echo ban. I think that they were trying to bait CLG into a first pick Sivir so that they could take the Gnar, and the Echo was kind of a throwaway ban where it's like, we don't want them to play Echo into Gnar or maybe flex it with Hui, whatever their plan was. And I think CLG outsmarted them by sticking with the Gnar, and then TL, instead of getting like Gnar Cassio, they don't actually want the Sivir for themselves, so they go Gragas Cassio, and then CLG still is able to take the Sivir, and then they round out their comp with Aurelian Sol and Olaf. I think 2 picks that synergize very well with it.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what it would look like if either the Sivir was banned or, honestly, Bard as well, because I think that gives Aphromoo so much playmaking potential. And I was watching their swaps back again. The Magical Journeys, he'll get 2 of them off, and he uses it when he's at the base, and it gives you that really long one. So it actually gives them a couple seconds more in tempo. And that's one of the reasons that they're able to get those turrets so quickly. It was like 7-second difference between the 2 turrets falling, and a decent amount of that was compensated from those Magical Journeys from the base.
I would have liked to have seen more out of Team Liquid as well in terms of draft strategies. They basically played the same comp 4 games in a row. Like, obviously, small
adjustments here,
being changed in and out, but it was one of the 2 tank junglers. It was, Aurelia versus Gnar every game, and then they had some kind of control mage aside for the LeBlanc game,
right,
and the standard bot lane. And it just felt like CLG was obviously out macroing them. You can't afford to run the same comp over and over. It's not like, oh, those games were... Sometimes, like, you lose an early game, and it's like, that was a fluke, let's run it back.
Right.
This was not, like, fluky. This was like, CLG seems to understand map movements better than you.
I think that's a major distinction that we have to make, that we really have to clarify, is that, okay, Champion Select is one thing, and obviously we can set ourselves up for a certain amount of success in Champion Select, but ultimately, the way that one team was able to adapt to the 6.15 patch and looked rather practiced on it for how little time they've actually had to be on it. Of course, the other team not so much. While I say that, we are gearing up and ready on stage for that interview, so let's head back to the battle arena where Azael is standing by with CLG's victorious shot caller.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Aphromoo after that 3-1 victory, and I've got to say, you guys look so good in this series, and some shout-outs from the fans there. But coming into this series against TL, did you guys feel as confident as you looked on stage? You guys looked like it was very, very one-sided.
Yeah. We had a little bit of fun with our cinder block hide-and-seek challenge that we had for 2 weeks, where our coach hit it on the CLG property, and we struggled to find it until the last day. We didn't know where the hell it was, so we just went through, like, mock uphill battle of struggling, frustration, and being down where we can't figure out, where to go. And playing against Team Liquid, we definitely had to learn the cinder block lesson, which is unity, and the brick was just ourselves. So it was cool playing against Team Liquid. I do think they're still a good team, but just that they don't really have, like a leader type figure where they can rely on them and come through with the game.
And speaking of leaders, you yourself are a guy who has been a leader for CLG for so long. We talk a lot about the poise, the teamwork that you guys have, and I think a lot of that credit has to go to you. And coming into this game, how do you keep your team level-headed? How do you keep focused? And whether you're winning or losing, keep the team together and keep working towards that kind of ultimate goal.
It's a struggle, definitely, but the guys also bring me up as well. And outside of the game, I'm pretty sure we're just like super caring and looking out for each other all the time. And all it is about translating that in game. Frustration is going to happen and stuff like that. But it's important to know that we're just here to improve and win, just like anyone else, and we're not like out to get each other or anything like that. So I think that's a very common aspect of our team that definitely is shown in everyone.
I agree completely. And now looking forward to next week, a rematch of last Splits finals against TSM. You guys obviously on the quest to win 3 straight splits. First ever team that would do it. And who better to face off than TSM in the semifinals to get there? How do you like your chances, going forward into that match? Are you guys feeling confident?
Playing against TSM, yeah, we're definitely confident. Playing against them last split, we were just as confident as well. But TSM is a very, very good team. And it sucks that we had to face them in the semis. I would have liked to play them in Toronto for the finals, but it's just going to make that match much more exciting since we had to play 2 more matches when we knew it.
Well, congratulations. You guys are going to Toronto. Either way, just have to find out if it's going to be the finals or that 3rd place match. Best of luck to you next weekend against TSM. We're going to send it back to the guys at the desk.
Thank you, Azael and Aphromoo, for the interview. Once again, Aphromoo, no stranger to the playoff experience here, but as Azael mentioned, they're going to have to rematch their finals matchup just to make it to the finals this time around. So definitely an uphill battle for them ahead. But once again, I want to close out this series as we were discussing this 4th game victory for CLG. And I want to dive back into it now from the gameplay side of things. We hit the pick ban. We saw some new things come out. In particular, we saw more focus back to the bot lane, true to game 3. However, this time around, CLG is the team that comes out ahead of the bot lane pressure.
Right. I mean, it was a very tragic start to the game. They're trying to push in. They had won the level 2 trade again, but this time it's going to be Smithy who makes the first stop down here, and they're able to just get a good flank off and hop right onto them. It's so hard to get away from here. I like the decision to try and turn and fight. It's just unfortunate.
Capitalizing on the blown flash from Ashe at level 1.
Yeah. So it was a good try, but it doesn't work.
Good try here. The next try, this next move is more than questionable, Zyrene.
Do not try this at home, kids.
Don't try this on LCS stage either, actually.
Yeah, never try this.
Yeah.
Blind. That's
ambitious.
disrespect. That's disrespect. Honestly, thinking that he can pull that off. Aphromoo sits on the side, knows that he's out of range, and even here, goes for the cannon minion kill, tries to get some HP back because of Strength of Ages, but instead it's not enough, and maybe the barrel would have been better on a slow there, because that was pretty much a max range
auto.
Yeah, I mean, 6 even kept walking forward because he's like, I might need another one.
Right.
And so after that, though, it is hard to recover from
that was 3 kills and double buffs going over to Stixxay. So, right, a lot of times we might see 3 kills traded in an early game scuffle, but, it's 3 of them go to the support. Just like 3 kills ended up on Matt in this game, right? And it's like, okay, well, the gold's not going to the right person. Well, the gold went to exactly the right person here in game 4, the Sivir, and then comboed with the likes of the Olaf and the Aurelion Sol. We saw the potency of, the Sivir behind those unstoppable champions in terms of CC.
Yeah, super good against the Ashe as well. The Olaf getting speed buffed in. I mean, it's pretty much Ashe's worst nightmare. You can't arrow him away. If you do, it's a panic move. And even beforehand, the arrow, he'll pretty much just soak it every time. And he got a Banshee's Veil just to double down on that.
Right, so that only jumps us to 16 minutes into the game where it essentially breaks open and it spells disaster for Team Liquid. CLG is going to get a pick off on 3 in the mid lane, plus a tier 2 turret here. So lots of gold influx on what was already a pretty significant lead for them. Starts off with Aphromoo's ult.
Yeah, it's such a huge ultimate. It's unfortunate Darshan's Meganar runs out right then, but it's enough to pick up 2 kills basically instantly, and it sets up the mid turret to be able to be taken. This was coming right after a close defense by Team Liquid, and this is really what blew the game open. CLG had been out-moving them on the map, and then Phoenix just mispositions a little bit, gets hit by an axe, which sets up Huhi to go in for the final kill, ends up being a 3-for-0. And it's just so hard to come back from even that initial play bottom. Normally you'd want to swap topside. The people who ended up swapping topside were CLG, and it was even before 5 minutes before the fortification dropped off. And it just shows a team that's willing to push what you would think is the right thing to do.
It also means that they've actually pushed the limits in terms of their practice, because if you're swapping top pre-5 minutes, you at least know that you're going to get that turret. They're not going, oh, I don't know if we can take this. They've at least tried it at some point and actually experimented with the difference in timing.
Right. Interestingly, what it did is it forced the Team Liquid reaction. So they didn't actually secure that top lane turret, but they forced a defense by Team Liquid. And it definitely showed, once again, that CLG was the proactive team on the map.
Right. They would have gotten that turret because it was just the Ashe down there hitting the turret for TL. And so that made Lorlo have to TP up. It made Dardoch have to go up, Phoenix go up. And it's just the fact that they seemed to know what was going to happen on the map and could force Team Liquid into situations, because then they just went bottom soon after and took the bottom turret first, and they start getting that snowbally first turret gold.
Yeah, and it's actually showing just a mastery of this patch right now. I mean, it's very new. We've had 2 weeks on it, and people are already pulling out so many new things. And I really love this because even in the lane swap days, people who got the lane swap right, we could see them go through the motions and stuff. And then CLG was always the team that would augment it very slightly. And that showed a complete understanding of why you did what you did in every part of that lane swap and what you can change and what you can't change. So when they're backing on different timers and stuff like that, they still know they'll be able to get away with it.
And I think a lot of how that manifests is that you can tell the team is making a decision. It's not going through the motions, right? When you watch CLG make that decision to swap top at 4:40 instead of 5 minutes, it's very clearly a choice on their part, right? They are looking to change the tempo of the game. It's not we're following the motions, oops, we fell out of sync with the normal timers, right? And so ultimately, CLG showing somewhat of a mastery. Of course, we'll see how this meta continues to develop with those 6:15 changes, but right now CLG showing that they might be top top of the table in NA when it comes to the macro play here in the playoffs.
I mean, at least what we've seen so far, no one else has done anything close to like that. We saw TL attempt it in Game 3, and they show up behind the turret, but didn't have a wave going in. It was just very disjointed. Whereas CLG, even when they didn't get the turret and Team Liquid was able to defend, they clearly understood what they were doing, and it never hurt them. Whereas some teams kind of hurt themselves in confusion trying to keep up.
All right, well, today CLG did show us what it means to play as a team, but of course we are bound by broadcast law to award a player of the series. It was a tough call, but we've got to go with Huhi, and a lot of that is due to the fact that he was able to pick up the likes of Syndra to be a very effective pick in the first couple of games, and then of course the Aurelion Sol still in his back pocket from MSI.
Yeah, ended up pulling two bans for the rest of the games, and then ended up just dominating as well on the Aurelion Sol and having really good roams. I think that was what they weren't expecting, is he was able to affect the side lanes very, very easily, and something that you'd be like, oh, Talia can do that. It's like, he can also do that on Aurelion Sol.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing where coming into the series, a lot of people are looking at who he has potentially a weak point where Team Liquid might be able to abuse, and the fact that that's not the case, he's pulling his own bans, really throws a wrench in Team Liquid's plans where Phoenix doesn't have priority, he can't roam as easily, they're using bans that maybe they didn't want to have to use as opposed to targeting other players.
And I think that's very much another factor when you consider who he's against, right? Who he is against, right? In the mid lane, you've got Phoenix, someone that we were looking at as one of the two solo laners, a guy who needs to get control of his lane, who needs to run away with it and have the kind of impact throughout the series that Team Liquid needs to come away with a win. And of course, he being flexible in his champion pool this time around did allow him on blue side every game to be blind picking things into matchups that, you know, are or aren't advantageous, but coming out on top in a majority of them.
Mm-hmm. And I think a big point, too, is just that you need to have like such a team mindset for these kind of rotations that they're doing. It's like everyone has to be on top of it, and having your mid laner never like pushed in and sucking your jungler down there where like, oh, he needs to hold. Like any kind of like loss of pressure really ruins rotations, and Huhi not ever having to be that problem where you're scared of that coming into the series, I think is a huge benefit that let them kind of manipulate Team Liquid.
Yeah, a very selfless player who actually likes to give his resources away. So when it was a mid lane focused meta, it was actually difficult for CLG to give resources to him because he just wants to give everything away. Right. He's like, can I come to your lane?
He's been conditioned through past seasons of play to be very selfless.
Yeah,
and now we're in a meta where mid laners can have much more effect on the map. We're seeing Talia bans in every single game. I would like to see her come back because she affects the map so much. But in a changing meta, he is doing his best to adapt and so far succeeding. Well, with quarterfinals done, seeding for semifinals is complete. So let's take a look at the bracket. Following their wins this week in Cloud9 and Counterlogic Gaming advanced to the semifinals. As the highest seed to come out of the first round, Cloud9 will face off against Immortals, with defending champions CLG going up against TSM. Now that means that CLG is guaranteed at least 40 championship points, which puts them at a current total of 130. That's at the top of the table. Now Team Liquid are locked in at 50 points, so we'll see them in the regional qualifier alongside Team Envy. They've got some time to practice, learn, grow as a team, and maybe shore up some of their weaknesses when it comes to that macro play out of Team Liquid. Is that where you would say, if you had the 3 weeks to work with the team, that you would put the majority of your efforts?
Right, and I think there was a clear emphasis on that fact, because like 1, 2v1s are dying, so you have to figure out how we're going to compensate for that fact, and 2, what can we do with the other changes? How can we start, because 2v1s really are just kind of abusing the map movement as hard as possible, and that's seemingly what CLG put a lot of emphasis going into this. And it doesn't matter if I have better counter picks when at 5 minutes in the game you're getting a 300 gold lead off a turret trade every single game. It's so hard to put up with, and it was very clear that CLG emphasized that.
Now, Zyrene, before we get to the regional qualifiers, of course, we have the rest of the playoffs. So I want to talk about those semifinal matchups. First up, Immortals versus Cloud9. Thoughts here on how our third seed in Cloud9 might stack up against that second seed in Immortals?
Jensen looked really good, but I do have to say it was against the 6th seed of Envy, who were definitely floundering, and their picks just really aren't as on point. I want to know how Immortals do on this patch, though, because I think they have fantastic laners. I know that Dylan, the coach, is extremely happy with the patch, saying we're going to crush some people in lane, and it's how we always wanted to play. Frees up Rain over to really go towards Huni. And one of the things that people always hated on the team was you could lane swap against Huni. It's like, put him in a side lane, doesn't get as much gold. Now he's going to have the gold that he needs to operate, and they may even save a bunch of counter picks for him.
It's very interesting because I think C9 didn't show me the mastery over the map that CLG did, where I think that might actually tip the... If it was CLG against Immortals, you'd be like, oh no, Huni isn't going to be able to exploit an enemy as hard because Rainover and him don't have as much time to isolate that top laner.
Right.
But against C9, it seems like they were playing a slower game, and so...
They're more willing to sit in those lanes.
Right, so if Impact is able to get abused by Huni with Reignover coming to help and Meteos can't keep up, whatever the reasoning, it could potentially lead to this massive snowball topside, and Huni loves his counter picks, so who knows what he has in store for us.
And I do love to think about that mid lane matchup. Pobelter stepping up big this split in particular, making his case. We've got basically Bjergsen, Pobelter, and Jensen, our top 3 mid laners, right? All on the all teams for the LCS, still in the playoff bracket. So going to be exciting to watch those two go up against each other. I want to move on to Sunday's matchup. That's going to be our rematch of the Spring Split Finals between TSM, CLG. This time around, though, TSM sitting in that #1 seed definitely would be the favorite here, but given what we've seen out of CLG today, do we think they have what it takes to perhaps give TSM a run for their money? I mean,
it's so hard to say, because as much as of an advantage as we want to say moving around the map is, at some point the turrets will all drop and you'll be similar to what the metagame was at like 15 minutes. And TSM showed themselves to be so dominant during that time frame. They lost some early games where they'd go kind of evenish, and then they just seemed to win every team fight or control every dragon. They just had such a mastery over that portion of the mid game. It's very tough to imagine that CLG is a favorite going in.
Yeah, especially since TSM have shown that they like to play through mid lane and mid lane jungle and actually just crushing that area and then having that spill over to other side lanes. So playing through Bjergsen against Huhi, I definitely give the edge to TSM. And honestly, TSM look like the best team that North America has seen before in the regular season. Yeah. And they look really polished. But the thing is we've seen Titans fall before, like Immortals, same game record, match record coming into the finals, or coming into the semifinals. And if they misinterpret the meta, then, they're going to have to do a different kind of game in the middle of the game.
A more lopsided mid lane matchup maybe in this series between Huhi and Bjergsen, but I also do have to say, like, the point 2 where we were talking about CLG versus Immortals might actually be beneficial for CLG because of their ability to play the map and the macro movements. TSM is a team that we've been looking at all split going, well, they're playing the macro game about the best in NA, right? They're being proactive, even if they do make a mistake and get behind. They're making a change in their play to accelerate the game, change the pace, and find a way back into it. I have to believe that same inventiveness and ingenuity should cross over. It should, right? It should translate to the new meta.
And the only other thing I'll say on that is just the bot lane might be a big mismatch, because we saw that Afro and Stixxay were even struggling a little bit just in this series without, even without a ton of jungler attention. At level 2, they were kind of losing trades, and I think a player like Doublelift, who is so punishing and just wants to fight you for every CS, could end up really creating such a vacuum of power down there that you have to send your person down there to defend, because otherwise they're going to get run over potentially.
Now, 2 giant matchups ready to hit our screens next weekend. Now, of course, before we go, a quick reminder that there's one more quarterfinal match next week. Because of technical difficulties this morning, the quarterfinal match between H2K and Fnatic has been moved to Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central European. So make sure to tune in to catch Reckless going head-to-head with Forgiven. That's sure to be an exciting one. That's going to do it for us here, though, in LA. So now for myself, the analysts, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
It's my favorite time of the year. The teams care about it so much more. It's so much more intense.
We have to play the best fucking games of our lives to make it happen today, and it's all up to you guys.
They committed the teleport for that play. Do it, Huhi!
Cindy! Actually get Phoenix out from under the tower. They ignite it. Huhi flashes forward and gets it.
Balls flying in almost all directions. Balls everywhere, Kobe. Gonna hit him.
Could be a dive here. Smithy's caught Dardoch here. Nas also made his way around the other side. Ulti out.
Hey, look at the tower, Tower. Nice, come on. Nice.
His tower, who's going to go down as well? The tower's going to fall, and CLG get it all. Still chasing in, but Dardoch could even be in trouble. Phoenix. Aptly named Prey Seeker. And there's the snipe. Not quite there. Dardoch here throws out the ulti for the kill, and now Dardoch trying to get it turned around. Lolo dives under the tower, flashes forward, and there's the kill.
Gorlo with the 1v2.
Got you. Trevor's got it. Yeah. My fucking boy.
A triple kill for Stixxay.
The wheels fall off for TL.
Dude, maybe these jerseys are just blessed, you know?
Please focus on the game, Tony, not on superstition.
Jesus.
The Ignite is down. Afro might be the first blood here. Is Jith gonna try and make his first kill, but he doesn't get it. Now Stixxay gonna chase in. Matt, what?
Oh no, disaster!
Oh my god, that Bard ultimate saves Lola, but the arrow is there. Fails him for the snipe.
Jith from downtown!
Rek'Sai going back in. Afro
Oh, get him, Matt. I'm fucking move. Fucking go. Keep going forward. I'm up top. I'm behind them, guys. Chosen Ash. Okay, good job. Come on, end the game.
Welcome to the LCS Jin. How about that for a game 1?
Smoothie getting low. Stun's gonna land in. Smoothie gonna get healed on first blood. Goes to the Yola.
Ash flash. There we go. This one. Okay, let's go.
No flash.
Got you.
Alright, we're good.
I'm going in.
Nice, go. Go.
CLG show that while Team Liquid's talent may be undeniable, their poise is unbreakable.